Okay. Ooh, there is a very serious lag. Oh my gosh, was I live this whole time? That's pretty funny. You guys saw me do all my deep breathing and such. Man, if you can hear me. Oh, look at me. There I go stretching. That's really funny. There's a huge lag in the technology here. So if you guys can see me, can you just drop something in the comments so that I can see? Let's see. Anybody hear me? Just drop in the comments if you can see me or hear me. Okay. Hopefully, I'll just wait to hear back from somebody, get a few more. How is everybody? Crazy times, isn't it? Crazy times. It was not my intention to host this on the heels of Tony Evers' address at all, but I think couldn't have come at a better time, I think. Just switching back to here. Okay. All right, can you guys hear me now? Can anybody, you are watching? Okay. All right, can you guys hear me now? Can anybody, you are watching? Okay, well, I'm gonna go ahead and get started. Let me go ahead and share my screen. I don't have any updates here. Okay. Well, you guys, exciting times we live in right now. I think what we're going through, and I'm really sorry if I get emotional on here. It's not at all my intention, but I think what we're going through right now is somewhat unprecedented and important. And I am almost excited to see what happens in the next several months. My faith in humans and our ability to adapt and learn and problem solve has been astronomically changed. And I'm just so proud of all of the people who I work with side by side here at the office, and not just my colleagues, but the nurses that are coming in, the doctors that I know out in the field and what they're doing right now. I have to say a huge thank you to all the industries who are adapting so rapidly right now. But what we're going to talk about, and my presentation of course is not loading, because that's what presentations do when you try to use them, you know, on the fly. But I don't want to have any resources for COVID right now. One more time. Let's see what happens. So basically what I want to talk about today is stress. I think stress is one of those things, ta-da, there it is. Stress is one of those things that we know is out there. It's out there and we know we experience it, but what is it? Like, what really is stress? And I've been researching this and looking at this for quite some time now, and it's evolving. Even in the world of chiropractic and in neuroscience and what we understand about the brain, you guys, this topic is changing and evolving in a huge way. Even the way that we research stress has changed. And so that's what I'm really going to dive into, is because I think, in my opinion, that once you understand something, once you put a face to it, once you put a name to it, that's when you really start to understand and control it. That's when you can apply it to your life, once you have a firm understanding. So for those of you on the interwebs who don't know who I am, that's me there on the left with my father-in-law from left to right, my wonderful husband, and my incredibly esteemed colleague, Dr. Brittany Bartle. We all work together at Fletcher Chiropractic. And just going through these times together, I can tell you, I am so grateful to have those people by my side at this time. But let's start to understand stress a little bit. I think before COVID-19, this was life, and this might be life after everything is said and done. Is I can really attest to that woman in the upper right hand there when she's got her bag, looks like she's going to work, she's got 3 kids in tow, the kid on the bottom left who's in a ton of activities. I remember responding to people when they would tell me or ask me, hey, how you doing, Kim? And I'd be like, I'm good, I'm busy, but I'm good. And I think we're learning right now that busyness is really coming into play, because we're being asked to be still and to be quiet. And for some people, it's disrupting the norm. It's disrupting that norm. So what is stress? What is stress to us? Is it just busyness? Is it just something that everybody has and we're just meant to deal with? Here's the ultimate paradox here, folks, is that stress is merely a response to our environment. It is just our bodies responding to what we're perceiving. It's how we interact with our everyday lives. It's how we interact in our environment. It's our senses telling us it's sunny outside, I'm happy. It's us saying, oh, it's rainy, I'm feeling sad. I am public speaking and I am stressed. It's all of those things. But here's the paradox, is that stress is the cause of all health problems. We know this. We know that stress on the body in abnormal amounts is hard on us. However, optimal health requires stress. Now, how is that? Ask anyone in fitness, anyone in bodybuilding, and they're going to tell you that you need to stress a muscle, you need to stress the cardiovascular system to improve fitness, right? Makes sense. So when do you cross over? When do you tip over into, well, I'm just trying to maintain optimal health, into, I'm so stressed, I can't sleep at night, and I have anxiety and depression, and I'm dealing with all these symptoms. What's the tipping point? And it's this. It's simple and yet so complex. The difference is that it's our ability to adapt to stress. One more time. It's not the stress. It's our ability to adapt to that stress. Now, why is that? The first thing to form in utero is the brain and the spinal cord. It's called the neural tube. First thing when we're first being developed and multiplying in cells in our mothers. And that creates and dictates the entire rest of the development. Now, what we're doing is we are marinating in our mother's nervous system. Whatever she is experiencing and interpreting, we're experiencing too, as we're growing and developing inside there. So if mom is stressed, we feel that too. Now, what's interesting about humans and how we develop is that our cortex, our brains, the first thing to develop that makes us most human, is also the first thing that tells us that we are dying and that we're dead. Brain dead. So brain and spinal cord, first thing to develop, last thing to go. Everything in between there dictates our ability to adapt to stress. So let me dive into that a little bit further. So when we are a sperm and an egg that come together, we are built with a certain genetic stress point. So that's why some people just have this natural ability to deal with things. And we all know those people because some of them are just built that way. They have certain genetic traits that makes them better able to adapt to stress. Now, this is a model, this is a theory. Now, let's say that someone was born here. Let's think of RPMs on a car, and they were set right here, pretty low stress, so they can take a lot. But then we have birth, which is traumatic, and that baby was born in a way that might not have been ideal. That adds an RPM tick to that stress, the stress on the baby. And then they go through development, and maybe they had some issues with development. Maybe they had a stressful family life. Maybe they had traumas. Maybe they were fed foods that weren't good for them. Maybe they had allergies. Maybe their environment was toxic. It adds. It keeps continuing to add to that RPM tick, and we can only take so much before we're in the red. Now, what that means is that when we get into the red, we might not have felt symptoms at all. No symptoms at all until we hit that red point. It doesn't mean that these tick marks aren't unimportant. Now, in my line of work, being in pediatrics, this is where I tend to focus. So how can we adapt a mother who is expecting? How can we help her nervous system, her brain, her spinal cord, and everything that's connected there? How can we help her better adapt through the development of the baby and as kids grow? Oddly enough, it's the same way that we help adults in that way. Now, let's be real here. The goal of our lives is not to eliminate stress. It's not rational and it's not reasonable. We can't just eliminate stress from our bodies. It doesn't work that way. Like I said, it's our ability to adapt to stress. So I say this is the chiropractic model of stress, but this is certainly the model of stress across the board, is that there are three types: chemical, physical, and emotional. Physical is pretty obvious. It's what we feel. It's what's happening in our bodies. It's the muscles, the joints, all that stuff. There's one thing that you're going to take away from this webinar. It is this number right here. I want this number permanently branded on everyone's brain from this point forward. It is the one thing that if I could shout to a stadium room full of people, it would be this, is that this number, 0.045%, is what we are consciously aware of at any given time in our brains. So let's think about it. Our bodies are constantly doing things like breathing, and glands are opening, we're circulating blood, we're digesting food, we're having, all sorts of these processes, these autonomic processes that we don't have to think about. Our brains and bodies, they just do them because of this feedback loop that they have. What we are aware of is 0.045% of that. So, when they used to say that we're only aware of 10% of our brain, or we only use 10% of our brains? Not true. We use 100% of our brains. We're only aware of this percentage. So let's just take pain, for example. Your physical pain is so important. It's so important. Even if you think, it's a normal headache, this is normal low back pain. Everybody has this stuff. It's common. It's not normal. It's your body telling you, it's sending smoke alarms. Hey, I'm not able to adapt to this right now. It's the 0.045%. Think of how much your body had to adapt to already just to get into that percentage. It's huge. It's huge. And how readily we're willing to take Tylenol and ibuprofen and all those things to wipe our consciousness of that. It's so important. So the physical part, we don't have a good awareness of what that is. Now, chemical, this has some of this is controllable by us. So our diet, what we put into our bodies. Smoking, do we use tobacco products? What kind of chemicals do we use around the house? What are we exposed to at work? Are we drinking alcohol? In moderation? And what kind of supplements are we taking? Do you take high quality supplements that have been third-party tested? Do we take garbage supplements from Walmart? This all plays a role, and I'll get into this in a little bit. And then we have the least understood part, which is the emotional and the mental component. And it's our personality, it's our feelings, it's how we feel happiness, it's how we feel lonesome, it's our reactions, it's how we process, it's how we process. Now, a side note on this is because now we're going to start getting really deep into neurology. So if I lose a few people, yeah, you can kind of tune out a little bit. But this is the real meat of it for me. This is what I think is coming in chiropractic that is so important, that has laid underneath the surface for so many years. But this is what's new in the research, guys. This is coming straight out of the 21st century. This is what chiropractic is that pain is in the brain. We are not bone doctors, we're not joint doctors, we're brain doctors. And this is why. Because how we experience the environment goes straight into our cortex. That's a human component of us. The thing that makes us most human is our cortex, cerebral cortex. And our pain centers lay right next to our emotional centers. So have you ever felt that when you're sad, people we know with depression feel pain at a greater level because they're sensitized. They're sensitized. They have a lower pain threshold for that. We're going to go on a journey in just a moment here, but this is it. This is studying coming out here, 2012. The way we perceive stress matters. If we believe it's bad, it's bad. If we believe it's helpful, it's helpful. So let's go on a little journey here. Let's say you're walking down a path in the woods. Take a deep breath and put yourself in that moment. It's quiet. You can hear the wind through the trees. What are you smelling? Can you smell moss? Can you smell the bark? Can you smell pine? Maybe you feel the wind on your face. It's a little chilly outside. Maybe you can feel the sun shining through the trees. And then all of a sudden in that quiet, you hear crunch, crunch, crunch. And across your path, you see a grizzly bear. Your heart stops, and then it starts to beat really fast. You feel your palms getting sweaty, your hands get cold, you start to feel adrenaline, your pupils are dilating, and you're stuck. And in your brain right now, you're thinking, I either have to get really big and take this bear on, or I gotta hightail it out of there because this bear is gonna eat me. What do? So let me break this down for you a little bit. That as you're walking through the forest without a bear, you are balanced. You have a good balance between the two parts of your nervous system. That's the two parts right here. The left side, the sympathetic drive, the right side, the parasympathetic drives. Now, the bear comes, you are snapped into sympathetic drive because you have to survive. Now, the breakdown of that is that you perceive the bear, you see it. And then that message, those senses through your eyes, through the sounds that you hear, goes to the front part of your cortex. Your cortex goes, have I seen this before? I did see it in a movie once, didn't end well. And then it slips back into the limbic brain. Limbic system is our survival mechanisms. It's everything that's deep rooted in us that is completely subconscious. And that's what kicks on all of the adrenaline, all of the fight or flight mechanisms. So you hightail it out of there. And you're running and you're running and you're running, the bear doesn't follow. Then what happens? You turn around and you look. The bear is gone. You start to breathe again. You feel a rush of blood to your hands. Maybe get a little dizzy because your pupils start to constrict again. And that's the parasympathetic side. That's the right side. It's the brake pedal. It's telling you, we're okay now. You can calm down. The cool part about this, let's say a week later, you go for a walk down that same path. And you see the spot where the bear was. There's no bear, but your heart stops. It starts to beat faster. Your hands get cold and sweaty. Why? There's no bear there. It's because everything is stored in us. Everything that's happened to us is a memory. and we have it stored in us at all times. So when we're doing something that isn't life-threatening, like public speaking, or something where you would get nervous, something that, like this time right now, we can't see this virus. We can't see it. And we're so scared of it. It's those things that we can get trapped in fight or flight. Sometimes the parasympathetic system doesn't work because your sympathetic drive is so strong. And we see that in times when we have exhaustion and fatigue and all of those things, decreased immune system. Those are things that are telling you that you're stuck. And I knew I was going to go over 30 minutes because I just can't help myself. So as we move on, there is a third part of the brain. And this is really special because this third part of our nervous system is unique to humans. And it's something that now I'm going to get emotional because it's so treasured and it's so limited right now. It's called the social vagus. It's what connects us in community. And as it gets stimulated, or it gets stimulated by us being around each other, it's why we feel like we need to give and donate and help our fellow man and help our neighbors and protect each other. You guys, that is a human quality that no other system, no other being has that. And my fear is that right now we've got this big thing so that we can focus on this aspect of the social vagus. This is part of our nervous system. It's built in us. Is that when all this goes away, we'll go back to our phones and we'll go back to social disconnect. We'll go back to reneging on plans with our friends because I don't really feel like it. You guys, connection with humans is huge. It's a part of our health. It's a part of our health. Okay. So now that we've got pretty firm understanding of what stress is and really the neurology behind it, let's talk about easing it. How do we start to unravel? It's understanding that if you are experiencing symptoms of any kind, your body is lacking the ability to adapt. Understand that first and foremost. If you're experiencing aches, pains, muscle spasm, headaches, bowel issues, exhaustion, weight gain, those are all things that you need to recognize. Hey, my body can't adapt. I've got to get to some balance here. Now, here's what's cool about being in the 21st century, so we don't have to guess anymore. We have our perceptions of what we believe is happening in our body, which we know is garbage because it's 0.045% of what we actually have in our bodies, or actually what our bodies are doing. And then we have technology. Those perceptions plus technology, we can have a firm understanding of what kind of stress people are actually under. It is more accurate. Science is where it's at. I like evidence. I like science. And feelings are important. I get that, but we can take that out. And here's how we do it. We actually have a scan. We're not using it right now, obviously, just for social distancing, but it's called heart rate variability. See the two sides of the graph, sympathetic, parasympathetic. Guys, we can measure this now. We've got the tools. We've got the technology. We can help people adapt. Look at that autonomic activity index. That's terrible. That's a terrible number. But if you have questions about this, don't hesitate to drop it in the comments and I'll get to those as quickly as I can. But here's it, guys. Your body does not dissect out stress. It doesn't matter if it's physical, it doesn't matter if it's emotional, it doesn't matter if it's related to your diet, your lack of exercise, it doesn't matter. Stress is stress. And if you're unable to adapt, your body's going to take that on and it's going to deal with it any way that it can. Of course, you guys knew it was coming. Of course, chiropractic helps, and this is why. And we have new research to really solidify this, is that adjustments, yes, they're about the bones. Yes, it's about the muscles. Yes, it's about pain, but it's also about reconnecting the brain to the body. It is not a bone out of place that then squashes a nerve, that then sends signals that it doesn't work that way. It's stress. It's stress that's interpreted by the brain. changes the body. And that's what chiropractic does. The cool part is that we don't just change the body. We actually have what's called neuroplastic. It means our brains can change. We have these changeable effects on the brain, so all dogs can learn new tricks. We can break down these old patterns of stress that are memories. They're memories in your body. We can break those down and build back better habits through regular adjusting, because we're reconnecting through the nervous system, the body to the brain, and the brain to the body. So cool. And this is what people feel. This is what people feel. Now, we cannot ignore the other side of things. So we're going to be diving a lot more into this next week when we start talking about diet and nutrition, which is going to be our theme for next week. But take a chemical inventory of what is going on with you. Literally, pen and paper, 2 columns. What is a deficit or a debit out of your health bank account when it comes to what you're putting into your body? And what would you consider good deposits? If you guys have questions about this, we are playing with the idea of doing virtual consults so that we can go through these with you. You can go through it with a healthcare professional, and we can see, you know what? I would slide that one over to the unhealthy category, but you know what? We're going to do this so that we can get you back to balance. And here it is, my 20-minute mental health that I have, little routine that I have. I usually do it first thing in the morning, but you guys get a journal, put pen to paper, anything that's going into your brain, whatever thoughts you're having, put them down on paper, get them out of your consciousness, put them onto paper, meditate. If you haven't heard of Simple Habit, the Calm app, I think there's something else that's free for healthcare right now that I cannot remember, but I'm sure somebody will drop that in the comments right now so that I have it there. You guys, meditation is huge. Even if it's just 5 minutes a day, it's 5 minutes that you get to catalog your brain and drive home that parasympathetic, that calming force in your body, because we know there's going to be stress. We know there's going to be stress. So if you can meditate, if you can get your mind into that calm state, it's like putting on armor for the day. You can put on your suit of armor and you can go out through the stress and you can deal with it. You can deal with it so much better. Start taking care of yourself in a way that is meaningful. Self-care isn't bubble baths and spas and nails. That's a part of it. I love getting massages. It's part of my self-care. However, it's daily rituals. Be kind to yourself. Affirmations. These were difficult for me in the beginning. Very, very difficult. But they're positive statements that you say to yourself. I am powerful. I am strong. I am healthy. I can deal with this. I am a capable, amazing human. And if you needed further proof, these are all of the benefits of meditation that are there for you. We even get our kids to meditate, if you can believe that. And I truly believe this, as many of my friends out there are in mental health and are struggling again in this area, breaking the stigma of seeking help when you need it. If you feel overwhelmed, if you've passed that time of adaptation, if you feel like this is all too much, speak about it, talk to someone, reach out. They're there for you. They are there to help you. So with that being said, I hope you found this useful. You guys, this is my passion. This is, to me, what chiropractic is. This is what we give to our community every day. I have one last PSA announcement, is that as we're going through this time and you feel like, wow, I really resonated with this message, I have these things, do those things at home first. Reach out to us, see how we can help you at home. And if you need anything emergent, reach out to us. And you can visit us in the office, as we will remain open. But for right now, reach out to us virtually. We're here for you. And anything that you need, just let us know. Stay safe.